Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session of In Conversation. So for this month, we're going to be talking a bit about the Juvenis Festival. So how is it related to Blue Canoe? What's the purpose of the Juvenis Festival? And all that fun stuff. So we'll start out with our first question, which is, what is the relationship between Blue Canoe, the Juvenis Festival, and Launchpoint Academy?
Yeah, so I guess the simple answer is just Blue Canoe is kind of the umbrella organization, and then Juvenis is part of Blue Canoe, and so is Launchpoint. So Launchpoint is for the younger ages, so kind of 12 and under. Is that right? 15 under? Is that right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can sometimes change based on what they're doing, but usually it's like 15 and under-ish.
Okay. Yeah, which is different as an age group from Blue Canoe and Juvenis, which covers more from like 13 to all the way up to 30. Um, yeah. Anything to
Yeah. And like Juvenis, so basically the way I think of it is like, Blue Canoe, they put on a musical, that's a Blue Canoe project. That's basically what Juvenis is, except Juvenis is just such a huge project that it just gets its own branding basically. And like that's where Maya and I come in, like we work specifically on Juvenis since it's such a huge project.
Yeah, and I guess the same could be said about Launchpoint because they do have certain projects that are just for them. So the March break camps, the summer camps, and then any other kind of educational programming in some ways, but definitely for that more like 15 and under range. Um, but yeah, so I guess we kind of started into this next question, but hey, can you say something about what is the purpose of Juvenis within the Blue Canoe umbrella?
Yeah, so basically, Junis, we really want to create that safe space so young people they can like make mistakes, heal, get support, and also just try new things. And it's a really great learning environment as well.
And I think that as young people, we're really used to kind of the learning environment, that educational environment. We're doing art in schools, maybe we're taking dance classes, and it's all about learning. Whereas the Juvenis Festival puts that into an experiential context. So you're learning absolutely from each other, but that the main goal is for you to get that experience and for you to experience that thing you've been learning about.
Yes, 100%. So now also, how can I get involved in the company and in this year's festival as well?
Yeah, so I mean, tying back into our previous question as well, the Juvenis Festival is a really great entry point into Blue Canoe as a company as a whole. And so for Blue Canoe, they often put on a lot of musicals. And because it's their main programming, they're looking for people who have done it before. They don't, I mean, sometimes they'll take some people with a little bit less experience, but it's a lot of weight on the shoulders of these people. And it would be very hard if you didn't have the experience. And so the experience of the Juvenis Festival can give you the opportunity to get involved first, like with the Juvenis Festival, and then potentially just let Blue Canoe get to know you a little bit better, get to see what you can do, and then hopefully get involved a little bit later on. Kate, do you want to talk more specific about this year's festival?
Absolutely. So this year, the festival is 100% still happening, regardless of the coronavirus. We have plans to make it happen online too. And if you want to get involved, all of our opportunities are still accepting applicants and hiring and stuff like that. You just have to go onto the Juvenis Festival website and then you just click the Get Involved tab. Or you can also click our projects. That also works. And basically, to get involved, a lot of them have fairly easy application processes. There's just a lot of forms. Sometimes you might need to send in like an audition video or a writing sample, that sort of thing. But I know for a fact that every single one of our projects are still looking for participants right now. So don't hesitate. Just do it. Just sign up.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot there. It can be a little overwhelming at times. We do have so much going on. We have 7 different projects looking for people to get involved. And we're also looking for volunteers and workshop leaders and tons of stuff like that. So if you do have any confusion, don't know where to start, you can always just reach out to us too, and we'll be happy to kind of guide you about maybe where the best places are to get started. Yeah, so I guess that kind of leads into who can get involved and who is involved. So yeah, Kate, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So, who can get involved and who is involved? So, anyone can get involved. So, our age ranges for people 30 and under. Sometimes there might be a minimum age for some projects. For instance, like we have our musical, which is for ages 18 and up, just because of the content of the musical. But otherwise, it's pretty open to everyone. Some years we also partner with Launchpoint Academy too to give the younger age groups some things to get involved in as well. Um, but yeah, basically anyone get involved. Like we said, there's no experience, so there's no requirements for anyone. But yeah, you can add on to that if you want, Maya.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely focused on the 13 to 30 age range. And of course, that means 30-year-olds can get involved too. That's not the cutoff. So, yeah, and what's on our website is not necessarily all of it either. So, there is more stuff that'll be coming up that you can get involved with. So, if you're like, oh, there's nothing really there for me or my age range just yet, that's totally fine. But you can get involved in different capacities. So if you're a professional artist, you're above that 30-year-old cutoff, then you can participate as a workshop leader, or you can get involved in our Arts Career Expo, which more information will be coming soon. Or if you are under that 13-year-old range, there will probably be a launch point section of our festival as well. So there's different ways to get involved. There's definitely a capacity regardless of who you are. And even if you aren't necessarily wanting to get involved in a project, or if you don't make any of those age range or the ones that you fit into don't work. So maybe you're over 30, but you're not a professional artist, so you can't run a workshop, or Arts Career Expo isn't for you. You can come see all these shows. You can come see the gallery exhibition, and you can get involved and by just seeing what the youth come up with.
Yeah, and you can also, if you're a volunteer, you can be any age as long as you're over, I think we usually say like 13 to 16 is like our minimum age for volunteering, but there's no like maximum age. And if you volunteer, you get to kind of watch slash participate in the project that you're volunteering with for free. So if you're being an usher for the musical, for instance, you get to sit in and watch that show for free once you're done helping everyone find their seats. So it's a really great experience too. And it helps us out a lot too. So it's always a win-win situation.
Yeah. And I'll also just mention a little bit about who is already involved. And so there's Kate and I, who are the co-managing directors for the festival. And we work as part of the Blue Canoe team with the general manager, the managing director, production coordinator, whoever is hired on at that point in time. And then we also have project leaders. So we currently have 7 project leaders, and they are amazing. They are the ones who are making a lot of these projects come to life. We also have our mentorship program, so we have people who signed up back in the fall, and they are mentoring these project leaders, and they are professional artists, or they can be above the cutout range as well. So that's what we have so far, but there's really no limit. Yeah.
All right. So next we'll talk about how do people who are new to theater and the arts in general get involved?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of, we've touched a bit on some of the main aspects I want you to take from this, and that's just being like that we're kind of the jumping off point for people who want to get more involved. But there's a lot to be offered to beginners. Our projects aren't always looking for the best artists, and there's a lot of projects also that aren't, they don't just, you don't have to audition, you don't have to submit anything. We have one workshop called Rising Solitude. It's just an art and poetry based workshop. You don't need any experience, and you just go and you play with that art form and see what happens. So, and there's very few where you have to, I guess, really audition or have to have a lot of skill. There's definitely a way that even if you have no skill in the arts whatsoever, that you can still get started.
Yeah, and also even if you're not super new to the or established in the arts, that kind of thing, our workshops, even though they're run by professionals, they're still geared towards all skill levels. They're more than happy to take people who are more experienced and people who are just beginning. Like, for instance, we have some people coming from the New York Conservatory who are putting on some workshops. And yeah, it's great if you have experience, but also you're more than welcome to just join and just watch. Like, it's totally fine. So I'd say don't let your level of experience prevent you from getting involved at all.
Absolutely. And I guess you started to touch on this already, but do we offer classes and workshops?
We sure do. So with every festival each year, we offer a whole bunch of workshops. We call them skill builders. And they're, again, multidisciplinary. So we'll have things like this year, like we have like embroidery, we have writing, we'll have singing, acting, dancing. We'll just have a huge spectrum of things. This year, I think we already have 10 or 11 workshops, I think, lined up.
I think that sounds right. I think maybe 12.
Yeah, maybe
I'm
12
almost
now.
certain.
Yeah,
I think
we
they're
just keep
12.
on expanding.
Yeah.
So there's going to be lots to get involved in. And speaking of which, too, if you are an arts professional, you can still apply to do a workshop. So feel free to reach out to us. Yeah.
Yeah, just a simple submission form on our website. And these workshops, you'll be able to see information about them as it comes up. But then registration will open on April 1st. So from there, you can take a look. You can sign up for what you're interested in, and all of the workshops will take place during our festival week. There's lots of different styles. There's lots of, and we definitely try to hit every art form that we can. So right now we have visual arts, we have theater, we have clowning, we've got so many different things. There's professional development. I could go on, but to emphasize, there's a lot of different art forms. So whatever you would prefer to do, there's something for you there.
Yeah, and also too, if you're under the age of 13, Launchpoint also does offer workshops just throughout the year in general. So just if you're looking for a few extra things, but you're on the younger side. And we'll also have what we'll call an arts career expo too. So it'll also be a good networking opportunity, and it can help you learn just a bit more about getting a career in the arts and that kind of thing. So it still is kind of a skill building opportunity there as well.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's also a question that we can get quite often that kind of can be confusing. So Kate, I'll ask it to you so that you can answer. But why does the Juvenis Festival have one canoe show and the rest of the shows aren't Blue Canoe?
That's a great question. So basically, since Blue Canoe puts on musicals primarily, like that's what they do, they just put one on to be in our show that like they take care of. So Maya and I, like, we don't necessarily need to be super hands-on with that. Like, more the company manager, the general manager, and the managing director, they more take that on. And then technically the rest of the shows, since Juvenis is Blue Canoe, like, they're Blue Canoe in that sense, but it's just the rest, the other one, like, is more what's put on by Blue Canoe themselves. And then they'll also do a lot more advertising on their social medias as well, whereas some of the other projects will primarily be advertised on our social media channels. um yeah. Maya, do you want to add on to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we take a different approach with Juvenis Festival projects versus the Blue Canoe Show. So the Blue Canoe Show isn't necessarily involved with all the aspects of our project leader program. So they won't necessarily have a mentor, but whereas other ones are brand new. So at least the Blue Canoe Show is something where it happens every year. It's always something people look forward to, whereas our other projects are new and they're different, usually every year. Yeah.
Yeah, that just makes me want to just mention one last thing, which kind of jumps into the next question, which is what else makes Juvenis different from Blue Canoe. Um, our projects are constantly changing. Like, Blue Canoe has their staple things, so they'll do like Viva Voce each year, and they'll do musicals each year. But then for us, we have some staple projects that we do at the Juvenis Festival. So each year we do Battle of the Bands. Blue Canoe does a musical. We do a storefront art gallery, but then for the most part, most of our other projects, they're constantly changing. We let youth come to us and say, this is a project I want to put on for the Juvenis Festival. And we say, okay, we'll make that happen with you.
Mhm. Yeah, and Blue Canoe works to put programming on year round, whereas Kate and I work year round to put programming on for a week. So we just put everything into one very exciting week. And of course, Blue Canoe Programming wants to be involved with that. It's just that they'll keep going, whereas we'll get started for the next year.
Exactly. Um, yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to mention for what makes us different. Is there anything else that you think we should bring up for that?
Yeah, actually. So I guess the main thing is that we definitely have a focus on professional development. And so throughout these projects, it's slightly different because with Blue Canoe, you get started right away. You're like, okay, this is your show. You need to do a budget. Like you have a couple months to do it. And usually you're just kind of ready to go. You're going doing your thing. But for us, we provide support right from the beginning. So our project leaders were submitting projects. I think the deadline was in September, or no, it was in October, beginning of October. And so they've had to come up, they had to conceptualize this to pitch it to us back in September. And then we received them in October. They were interviewed. And from there, they've been working nonstop on their project since, and they still got a ways to go. But throughout this, they're receiving a lot of support from us. They're receiving, like, not only just through resources like funding, but we help them every step of the way. So obviously, if you're someone who is really comfortable and you're happy to do it, then we just kind of check in and make sure things are going well. But if you don't really have a lot of experience putting on a performance event, or I just call them a creative project, then Kate and I can use what we know and the Blue Canoe resources as well, and make that possible and help you through that. So it's more about a long-term supportive process moving into that. But we do have, and I guess part of that too is we have professional development built in. We have community builders built in. Mentorship is part of that. So we're kind of taking this project leader and we're kind of supporting and nurturing them through up until the festival. And obviously we care about them afterwards. But but we're kind of walking them through it in a way, or at least provide, like, enriching that experience with the professional development experience. And it's something that we include a lot of in the festival as well. So we have professional development workshops. And as Kate previously mentioned, the Arts Career Expo as well. So if you're looking for a career in the arts, this is a really great opportunity to come and meet with arts professionals, hear what they have to say, ask questions, because it's about preparing you. Because even though we're supporting youth and we're youth and so 30 and under, we're not just young people doing our best to put on a nice show. We're people who love the arts, who are committed to pursuing this, and who will likely be artists of the future. And I mean, it sounds cheesy, but these are the people who are preparing to take on these roles as artists in our communities, as those professional artists moving forward.
100%.
It's a little
So, what do we have in common? So basically, we just all have a belief and a passion for youth, and we all want to work as a community, and we just want to make art, and we want it to be the way that the youth want it to be. We want to see what the youth want, and we all just want to let them do their thing. Just because we know a lot of times with art, it's like, oh, this is the show we're putting on, audition if you want to, but like, it's not actually what youth want to do. And so just at Blue Canoe and Juvenis and all of that, we just want to see what youth want to see happen. We want to give them that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the youth community in Kingston and the youth arts community is incredibly vibrant, and there's so many talented people. It wows me every time. Um, and so to be able to give them that space within an already really creative and arts-based community is really exciting to see, because that kind of it leads us into the future. And I think every time that we do sit with the rest of the Blue Canoe team, pretty much all of our conversations revolve around how can we get more people involved? How can we enrich these opportunities for people, for youth? And yeah, I guess how can we make things really fun and exciting and do those really great things that youth are capable of because they're just excited and passionate. Okay. Anything else to add, Kate?
Covered everything. We covered a lot, but I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Okay, well, we hope that we clarified some questions that some of you watching may have had in the past, or maybe you got some new information. But if you do have any other questions for us, feel free to ask us in the comments, send us emails. We're always open to sharing what we're doing and to hearing from you. So please do that. But thank you for listening. And it's our first in conversation for 2021. And so only a few more months left until the festival. So we do this every month. Make sure you check back in next month as well for our next episode. I don't know, I always change what it's called. But for our next episode to see what else we've got going on as we get closer. And make sure to follow us on on our Twitter, so Instagram and Facebook accounts to stay updated on everything they have going on, because there is a heck of a lot.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.